If you're experiencing this tension of being pulled towards big dreams, and yet for whatever reason you can't really move all that quickly right now, even if you're trying to, this is intentional. You have or are encountering situations right now where you're being forced to move one step at a time, and you can't really jump ahead because you are learning how to walk in co-creative step with God, divine. And these exact experiences is what will help you embody how to trust that the next step is always there and always on time, and help you embody it on a much deeper level. I have a story to share with you of an experience I had recently that taught me this. And there is just so much spiritual wisdom packed into literally every detail of the story that I think will be helpful and encouraging for anyone who's feeling like they're moving through mud right now, encountering setbacks, or just wanting to develop a deeper trust that what you're meant for is coming. So I'm going to fully break this crazy story down section by section to help extract every little drop of insight for you, because this one is so rich. Okay, so let's rewind to February. My housing situation was crazy. I moved or jumped to a different home 4 different times in about a month and a half before I landed at this 5th place now, where I'm going to stay for the foreseeable future. 2 of these places where I was at were meant to be long-term homes, and the other 2 were places that my friends offered to me while I was sorting things out. And each of these places that I was trying to live at long-term, something came to light that was either intolerable or unlivable within just the first few days of being there. And I had to make the uncomfortable but necessary decision to find somewhere else to live. It was honestly one of the most difficult situations I've ever had to navigate, just in terms of logistics and like physical effort level. But what kept me going was knowing that God was with me that entire time, trusting that He had the perfect place for me. And this experience was what showed me how to move step by step. What I was shown first was what it really means to be moving in a process, right? So looking at this living situation thing. So there was the process of finding a place, looking at listings, contacting people, waiting for replies, organizing viewings, formalities. Then there was the process of getting there, packing, cleaning, getting the moving truck, seeing who could help, then actually physically moving all my belongings. Then there was like the process of settling in, unpacking, addressing all the things that come up while you're settling in. And then even now, as I've been here for 2 months, I still find myself in a process of just living here and assessing whether I want to stay longer, etc. And what all of this showed me in such an embodied way was that we are always in some sort of process, moving towards greater alignment. And when you're in a process, which is all of the time, especially those of us who are, trying to consciously move forward on our soul's journey, we're not going to be given opportunities to skip ahead anymore. I mean, you can, but you probably shouldn't, because those steps are there to prepare you or even protect you. Just like how you shouldn't move into a home without looking at it first, or you can't really successfully move in to a place without packing all your belongings up first, or you can't really figure out for sure if it's a long-term fit if you haven't even unpacked and given it a chance. Being in a process slows things down so that you can move one step at a time. And yet while that's happening, things will still come up that seem like maybe you've made a mistake or missed something important, but you haven't. Like, for example, I thought that I had really let myself down when I got to the 2nd place and discovered within 2 days of being there that there was a massive black mold growth hiding under the loose kitchen tiles. But this is the whole point of a process. You don't go through a process of something just to guarantee yourself an outcome or to meet your own expectations. The point of a process is to fully experience it, live it, be present in it, learn from it, and then respond to what's actually there. It's actually the built-in way of developing your discernment and your resilience. And it is no coincidence that these are the same exact skills you need in order to co-create the life that you dream of, what you're already doing. This is just, you're being shown how to do it through your life experiences. And so you gain confidence and you naturally embody these lessons just by moving through them. And more than that, moving through this whole moving situation brought me so much closer to God and really demonstrated to me that I could trust that the next step would always be there. At the peak of my struggle, right after uncovering this mold situation and realizing I had to move again, I woke up the next day in excruciating pain. Yet, when I fully surrendered to God's plan over my life and chose to trust that I was being taken care of, that pain disappeared within the day. I made a separate video on that healing. If you want to know the details about that, you can check it out in the description. And right after this healing, housing opportunities started flooding in the next day. All great options, which, by the way, is part of the healing process. When provision is pouring in, that is because it is a demonstration of divine presence. After all that came in, I still had to move through more process of vetting these 4 places step by step by step. But this time it all happened so quickly. I didn't have to worry or wait for responses. The viewings happened sometimes that same day. I was tempted to overlook some small things because they were also immediately available and just felt like maybe I should just go for one of these because this is what has come to me. But what kept me strong was that knowing that if I rushed this decision, I would have to start all over again. And I did not just go through all of this just to collapse right at the finish line. And, I feel like that's how it always seems to happen. Right before the thing that you've been waiting for comes in, the temptation to settle for good enough comes in. And let's just talk about that for a second, this concept of settling. I think that it can be a really confusing point to navigate, especially when there are all these things coming in and they're like almost perfect. So one good thing about having moved so much in this short time was that it gave me the opportunity to really embody my standards. As in, there are things that I thought were essential in my long-term home that turned out not to be, and things that I didn't care so much about in my last place, but now I do. And I did not know that until I literally got to each of these places and it was actively happening right then and there. There are a couple of golden threads for us to learn from in this. First, it's hard to really know exactly what you want and how you feel about something until you're actively experiencing it. And this is normal. It's not that you've made a mistake. It's not that you missed something really important or you set yourself up for failure. Not really. It's just that the mind can only predict so much. You just don't know until you try. Second, your standards can and will change over time as you learn more about yourself, or even just by thinking clearly about what you truly and actually need. And for me, there's this weird thing in the town where I live where there's a lot of rental units that have an electric 2-burner stovetop and a toaster oven instead of a real conventional oven. And I don't know what it is, but I just had such a distaste for that because, first of all, I thought it was kind of outrageous to not have a real oven, and also because I cook a lot and thought it would never work for me. I had never tried that kind of setup, and nor did I want to. I never considered this until I came across Almost Perfect listing number 5. It was absolutely gorgeous, in my desired neighborhood, way underpriced for what it was. Landlord loved me, it was peaceful and quiet, and it had a 2-burner stove and air fryer oven setup, but also 0 counter space. And it wasn't until I went to go look at this place that I started to really think about this stove situation. I ultimately realized that everything that I cook is actually perfectly doable with this 2-burner and toaster thing. So I was just like carrying a strong belief that conventional ovens were better. So when I realized this, I was like, okay, great, this can work. I can just get a little pop-up table for counter space. This must be the place. Must be where I'm supposed to be. So then I send off an email to let the landlord know that I'm in. This is my top choice. But then the final test came. She responds and says, this was a really hard decision, but I chose somebody else for the space. And you guys, I was so devastated. This was my top choice. I had already said no to every other almost good enough option. So at this point, I was like, I don't have any options. Did I just screw this up so bad? And when I got this email, I was sitting in the middle of my voice class, and I'm so grateful that I had that distraction to stop me from spiraling in that moment. But as soon as I got home that night, I sat down and went straight into prayer. I opened up my heart to God, tried to surrender my fear as best as I could, and was just like, I don't know what to do. What do I do? Have I set my standards too high? Please tell me, like, what am I supposed to do? And so when I finally got to that place of stillness inside me, I heard him say so clear, no, look closer. So I took this to mean to do another search on the website that I had been using to look for listings, which I had already searched probably about 20 times by this point. I had a small thought in the back of my head. I was like, well, I already know about and have already contacted every single listing that was suitable. But nonetheless, I opened up the site search page and I sat there and I said, okay, I surrender. Tell me what to search. So I found myself starting off putting in the usual information, but then I did something different. I left the end date option open, and not something that I had done before because, long story, but I was looking for 1 month stays, thinking I needed a short-term place while waiting for a longer term, more suitable option to open up. And then that's when I saw it, an option that I had never seen before. It was in the exact same neighborhood, just a few streets away from the last place. It was beautiful, had everything I needed, price was great, and it had a 2-burner stove, but this time with ample counter space. And here's what's funny about all this. I mean, there's many things that are funny about this, but here's what's insightfully funny about this. I didn't see this listing at first because it was a 6-month lease. And the way that the site was laid out, and by the way I was searching, it was only showing me month-to-month stays. I had to broaden my search without dropping my standards. Second, that final test that I got rejected for with the 2-burner stove needed to happen first to clear away and help me differentiate between my real standards, the ones that were really important to me, and then the ones that I had just made up in my head and were blocking me from receiving this place that was actually meant for me. And by the way, I am so pleasantly surprised with how well this cooking situation is working. I've had no problems. And what else was nice about this place was that the landlord was just as eager to sign me as I was to live there. I was able to just say yes right on the spot, didn't have to worry about competition or not being chosen, and I've been living here ever since. And what's more is that this place was not available until a month after the very first time that I needed to move. It was just not ready for me until a specific date. And I had a lot that I needed to experience in the meantime to help align me with this opportunity. How many times have we doubted what was coming to us because it didn't seem to be appearing, but it just wasn't the right time yet? And how many times have we heard that you're just being prepared for what's coming and that when the timing is right, it will happen? This, you guys, is proof of divine orchestration. It is so cool to see it happening on every layer and every single detail of what can appear on the surface to be just, a complete mess. Divine order is always in operation. We can doubt, we can worry, we can try to force things to happen, but the shortest path to what is meant for you and therefore co-creating life with the divine is just to keep walking one step at a time, trusting and knowing that even if it's not the real thing itself right now, it is a step in that direction. It's not a coincidence that this intense experience took place right before I received the divine idea for the next chapter of my business, which, by the way, I'm really excited to share with you publicly next week and that you already know about if you're on my email list. I had to go through all of this, integrate these lessons, because it is literally the exact same feeling of stepping with God, but now in my business. I can do that now with 100 times more faith, confidence, and trust because of the way that I was supported and provided for in the lead up to this soul path pivot. So in retrospect, I am so deeply grateful I was put through that fire, because now I have the patience, the capacity, and the trust that will transfer into co-creation on an even bigger scale and in different aspects of my life, right? And it all started with step by step moving through the trials that were divinely given to me for my spiritual development. And the same thing is happening for you too, right now. Every step that you are taking, you are being shown how to move with the divine. And of course, as we said before, processes are ongoing. Even as I'm living here, I already said arrived in this chapter, but I also haven't really arrived because that sense of like end destination just stretches on as one life process blurs into the next. And all we can do is just be present, learn from what's here, enjoy where we are right now, and respond to what we're being given. Because when you do take the step right in front of you, you are demonstrating that you can be a steward to what is in your hand and below your feet right now. And so more will be added unto you, as is said in the Bible. You are actively demonstrating your ability to co-create more, to hold more, and so more will be given to you in divine timing. If you have a story like this or can relate to what was shared today, I would love to hear about it down in the comments. As always, I love to share this wisdom and time with you as we all walk step by step on our own journeys together. Sending you so much love. Mwah.